Hello everyone, it's Nina. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today I have the pleasure of participating in the Pretty Pink Posh product release blog hop. Pretty Pink Posh released a bunch of new products just a week ago, and there are so many gorgeous new items that are included in this release. I'm going to be using a few of the new products today to create these gorgeous butterfly cards using some simple supplies and also sharing a fun way to use these butterflies to create some really fun dimension on your cards. I'm going to be pairing them with some of the new sequins, which are the sparkling clear 3mm sequins. I love this new size. These are perfect for adding little tiny sequins to your cards. Here's the stamps that I'm going to be using today. This is the Blissful Butterfly set. I love how beautiful these butterflies are. There also are coordinating dies, which I will be using in this card. So I'm going to be using a bunch of different die inks from Hero Arts and Altenew to do my stamping. I want the butterflies to have a more no-line coloring look, and this is just because this coloring is going to be very simple since the cards are going to be so busy. So here you can see I'm stamping the butterflies onto some cardstock here, and I'm going to be stamping 3 of each butterfly. Now originally I was thinking I was going to make 4 cards, but I ended up not having enough butterflies to do that, and I ended up only making 3. But you'll see here I'll stamp all these butterflies onto my cardstock to go ahead and have a variety of colored butterflies on my card. Now this lightest butterfly, I don't think I ended up using this one on my card. I believe I used a slightly darker version, and that's just because I didn't like how light the color was for the stamping, and I wanted it to be slightly darker. Here I'm taking some deep iris. I love this purple color. This is going to be my darkest butterfly. And I'm also going to be stamping some passion flower ink from Hero Arts onto my paper as well for a slightly lighter shade of purple. Once all the stamping was done, you can see I'm taking my Copic markers and I'm flicking color from each end of the butterfly towards the center. And the reason I'm not coloring the butterfly in a flat, solid color is because I want the butterfly to have some highlight to it. I don't want it to be one flat particular color, but I also don't want a lot of shading because I want to make sure that I keep these butterflies fairly simple since the card is going to have so much going on in it. I think if the butterflies had been colored in the normal way that I would have colored something, if I had added lots of shading and other color to these butterflies, I think it would have made it very busy, and I don't like having a card that's too busy. I'm going to go ahead and keep coloring all my butterflies in. I'll have all the colors that I used listed over on my blog. I'm not going to show you all of the coloring of each butterfly because I colored them exactly the same, so it's going to get kind of boring if you watch it over and over and over again. So here you can see I'm taking a lighter butterfly here and I'm just shading in the areas. Again, I'm just going from the 2 ends of each butterfly and meeting towards the center. I'm also coloring the body of each butterfly as well with a slightly darker color. In some cases I use blue, some cases I use purple. It all depended on what markers I picked up. I really had no rhyme or reason for it. Now I did also color all the butterflies of each color exactly the same. So you can see all the darkest butterflies are colored the same. All of the light purple butterflies are colored the same, the teal ones, etc., etc. And that's just because I wanted them to match. Now I'm going to go ahead and start die cutting these butterflies out from the paper. I'm going to be using the coordinating dies that you can get with the Blissful Butterflies stamp set. They are purchased separately, of course, but they do have coordinating dies. And this works perfect for the technique that we're going to be using today. I'm going to go ahead and run this through my Big Shot machine. And then once I have that die cut, I'll go ahead and remove the butterfly. And you can see how perfectly it cuts that out. And I'll go ahead and repeat that for all the butterflies that I ended up coloring. I did color quite a few of them. Alright, so now it's time to move on to creating our dimensional butterflies. Now to do this, I'm taking my Martha Stewart scoring board and I'm lining the butterfly up in the center of a score line. And I'm running my scoring tool right down the center of the butterfly. I'm going to take the butterfly and fold it in half along that score line and make sure I get it creased well, and then I'll open it back up. And you can see it has a dimensional look, almost like it's flying. So I'll go ahead and hold this here. Whoops, I dropped it. But I'll go ahead and hold it on my fingers. And you can see how it has this dimensional look off of whatever you're going to be putting it onto. I really think this adds a lot of really fun dimension and interest to your card. I'll go ahead and repeat this for all the butterflies. Again, this took quite a bit of time because I had so many of them. But I'm creating multiple cards, so I don't mind going ahead and repeating all these steps. Now I also want to show you a close-up look before we get any further of how scoring the butterflies creates this really gorgeous dimensional look. You can see how they are lifted off the paper, and that score line makes sure that they stay that way. Now I'm going to go ahead and work on the backgrounds for my cards. I have a large piece of Strathmore Bristol Smooth paper. This is the full size, and I'm going to go ahead and start pouncing color onto the paper. I'm using the ink smushing technique, although I'm not smushing too much because I want to have those dots that you see on the paper. And I'm putting down some milled lavender first. This is going to give me a nice pretty purple color to go ahead for the background because I'm using purples and blues and I really don't have any other colors mixed in. So I'll go ahead and pounce all that on. I'll dry it to make sure I have it all dried. And then I'll go ahead and move on to the next color. And this is tumbled glass. And I'm smooshing this one a little bit more than I did the purple. I wanted to have a little bit more blending between the two colors. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and smush it a little bit more than I did with the purple color. But I really love how the two colors blended together and created this really gorgeous background. I'm also going to add a little bit of splatter of water to go ahead and start moving the water around. And I'm also going to dab up some of the darkest areas just to kind of get them a little lighter because I don't want it to be too bold. Now here's the panel all finished. I'm going to go ahead and take my distress sprayer once again, and this time I'm going to put water droplets all over this piece of paper. And that's going to help me get a little bit more extra texture to the watercolor panel and help it have a little bit more interest. I'll let that sit for probably a good 30 seconds to a minute before I went ahead and dabbed it up with my rag. Once it dried, I'm taking my stitched rectangle die from Simon Says Stamp. I'll go ahead and cut around this. I'm going to be die cutting this entire panel with the stitched rectangle dies, and that's going to give me a panel to have on the front of my card, and I'll have a colored card base underneath this, just to bring out the colors in the butterflies and the background. I'll go ahead and run these through my Big Shot machine. I've lined them up to where I think would look best. I cockeyed this die a little bit because I wanted to have a little bit more of that purple along the bottom portion. And I'm just lining it up where I think it would look best. And I'll go ahead and die cut all of the panels just like this to go ahead and create my panels for my scenes. Alright, so now to start building my scene to put my butterflies onto, I'm taking some of the teeny tiny butterflies that are included in that Blissful Butterflies stamp set, and I'm stamping each of the panels and going ahead and creating a scattering of butterflies across this background. This really fills in the card a lot, and I really think it adds a lot of interest to the card itself. I think if I had left the butterflies out, it would have been a little bit more plain, and I think filling them in with these little butterflies really makes this have a lot more depth to it as well, because it looks like there's bigger butterflies in the foreground and then those smaller butterflies further back. Now I want my sentiment here. This is a die cut from My Favorite Things. I'm going to go ahead and color this with a dark marker that I used for the coloring of the butterflies. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want the sentiment to match the color of the butterflies, and I didn't have a dark purple cardstock on hand that really matched the butterflies. So I decided to go ahead and fake it by coloring in my light purple cardstock here with a darker purple marker. And I love the results because it really matched that dark purple in the butterflies perfectly, and the contrast of the sentiment really makes it stand out. I'll go ahead and glue this onto a couple of layers of white cardstock thanks dies that I also die cut from that same die, and I'll go ahead and layer them up to go ahead and create a more dimensional and sturdier sentiment. This helps it have a little bit of dimension off of the card and also makes sure it's a little more sturdy because this is a very delicate die cut. So having those extra pieces underneath really helps it stay together really well. So once I have everything ready, I'm going to go ahead and start gluing my butterflies down onto my background panel. I'm taking the butterflies and I'm putting some liquid adhesive along the bodies and the center line of each butterfly's score line. You'll see here, I will move them off of the paper. I had some temporary adhesive behind them. I'll go ahead and put that line of glue along the score line, and then I'll go ahead and lay them down onto the paper. Don't fuss with them too much because you'll end up squishing the glue out along the sides, and we really don't want that because the sides of the butterfly will end up sticking to it if we're not careful. So just making sure that we put that glue right along the score line helps us make sure that we don't have any of that glue going everywhere, and when we just lay them down nicely and don't shift them too much, they will be okay. Now after I've glued them all down and I've let them dry, I'm taking my sequins here. These are the Sparkling Clear 3mm, 4mm, and 6mm. And I'm going ahead and gluing each of them down onto my card using some glossy accents. I chose glossy accents for this because I want the glue to be clear, and I really like the look of the glossy accents underneath the Sparkling Clear sequins. For most other sequins, I end up using my PPA matte adhesive, which is what I used for the butterflies, but for the Sparkling Clear, I do like to use the glossy accents. Now I'm shaking up my Spectrum Noir Sparkle pen, and I'm going to start applying this down onto my butterflies. I really love the Spectrum Noir pen because it puts down so much sparkle and shine. It has a little bit more of a silvery shimmer to it rather than the Wink of Stella, which is more gold. And because I have so many cool tones in this butterfly card, I really wanted to make sure I used the Spectrum Noir pen over the Wink of Stella just because I felt that the color tone would match the card perfectly. After I've applied down all that sparkle, I'm taking my glossy accents and applying the glossy accents right on the center portion of the butterfly on their body area. And that's just going to give them a little bit more extra dimension and help their bodies stand out off of the coloring that we did on their wings. So then here's a finished look at the card. It's all finished. You can see that gorgeous sparkle and shine from the butterflies. And I love that the dimension that these have, just by adding some scoring to the center portions of their bodies, really makes a huge impact on these cards. And then here's a close-up look at the other cards that I made using these butterflies. I just switched up the placement of each color butterfly a little bit, and I also used a light blue cardstock for one of the cards. Just wanted to see how that looked, and I really love how it brought out the teal color of that teal butterfly that we have in the mix of all those purples and blues. And then here's another close-up look. You can see the gorgeous sequins scattered around the butterflies. Really, really beautiful. So I hope you'll stop over to my blog where you can get more information on these cards, including still pictures and products used. And also be sure to head on over there because I will have more information about the Pretty Pink Posh product release blog hop, including the entire hop list and also information on giveaways. So please be sure to head on over there and check it out. If you enjoyed this video, here's another one you might like featuring Pretty Pink Posh exclusive products. Please give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can connect with me on social media at Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, as well as my blog. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.